A godly Christian man is wanting to marry you because he sees a raw material there that he can build up for the kingdom. He sees something that he can, again, wash by the water of the word, that he can nurture and lay his life down for as Christ did. So that way you can be a far better person than you would have been had he not married you. And the man's mission needs to be, my goal in marrying her is that in marrying me as a Christian man, she is more like Christ. And that needs to be your goal. You're looking for somebody that instead of what the first Adam did, taking her to God and then being like, it's her fault, right, she sinned. What you're looking for is the type of guy that does what the second Adam did, which is like, no, Lord, let me die in her place. I love her so much, I'm going to lay my life down for her. And not someone that's just out to play house. Welcome back to Hot Topic October, and I feel like we should explain a little bit about our attire before we begin.
Yeah, so today would have been Charlie Kirk's birthday, so we are all, I think it was TPUSA issued that we were supposed to wear red today, so we're wearing red in honor of him.
Yep, so definitely a good reminder, especially in light of what we're talking about, because he embodied in his marriage what we desire, what we want to communicate with our hot topic today.
For sure.
So, Lydia, why don't you go ahead and announce the hot topic?
We're picky.
We are picky.
Picky singles.
So we've been told.
Yeah. Our brother is so picky, he's pretty much put out to pasture. He's done. Chances of him finding a woman are next
slim to none. Yep.
So, yeah, we're picky.
Zero, zilch, nada.
Nothing.
No, so the hot topic today is titled, Why Are You So Picky? So you can pretty much guess by Lydia's intro what we're talking about. We are talking about pickiness and marriage and the common misconception that Christian ladies, men too, but we're going to hone in on particularly Christian ladies, because this is a female podcast, about why we are being called picky when it comes to our spouses and our marriage choice. So, do you have any openers you want to give, Liz?
Okay. So, first of all, I don't think it's fair to say that someone is being picky if you're not in the situation. So I think what they're looking at is,
well, I feel like first we need to give like the brief overview.
Okay.
So Christian women in America, and we're talking about particularly Christian Reformed circles, the single women are being labeled as picky if they're not married by, what was it, like 23, I guess, is like something like around there. And if you aren't married by 23, we have even heard that there is some sort of sin that you are committing. Like you are committing a sin if you are not married by a certain age. And so we are here to give our, we are here to, first of all, debunk that argument. And we are also here to give a positive affirmation to women that maybe are not married at that age, and then explain why we personally are not married, because we're at the, I guess, peak for marriage, and neither of us are getting married right now. So we wanted to give what I guess kind of like an encouragement to women that maybe are finding themselves within that camp, and then to encourage them that they are indeed doing the right thing, or at least we hope they are. If they are getting called picky, to hey, just continue in God's word and continue growing. So that is and continue on the path that you've been given and wait for the Lord. So that is the brief overview of. There's been a common misconception that young Christian women are being picky if they aren't married by 23. So that is out there. So we understand that there are also, like G.K. Chesterton says, you need to give the reasons you're not, what you're not advocating for. We're not advocating for the feminist movement of never get married.
Right. We're not advocating fulfill yourself, find yourself, live a little first before you're tied down with kids. No, we're not.
Right. We're just simply addressing the specific argument that if you are not married by 23, you're picky. So take it away, Lydia.
Okay. So let's come at it from the female's perspective of what they're seeing in some of these situations. So they're in Christian Reformed circles, and there are certain prospects around. Like, let's say there's a decent amount of single males and there's a decent amount of single females, but they're not connecting. Some might,
right,
but the majority of them are not connecting. And I think people are looking at that and labeling that as picky, when in fact, I would argue that the women actually are on mission for why they're not married yet. They have a purpose. There's an intention there.
Right. And we're talking about the women that grew up with godly fathers that have been nurturing them in the admonition of the Lord, that are growing them, and that they love their family. They come from a great Christian home. Those are the people that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Being called picky.
Mm-hmm. And so it's not that we're being picky. It's not that we're like, well, his eyes are green and I wanted him to have blue eyes, or he's 6'3" and I wanted a 5'9". You know, like, no, that's not what we're talking about. We are talking about characteristics in terms of what is his capability of leading. Is he going to wash me by water of the word? Like, is he going to nurture me in a marriage? And so that's what I think a lot of us are looking at. But then it's like, you have a whole host of young men here, and you're saying no to all of them. It's like, because they're not adequate. They are not equipped to lead me, to lead immortal souls well. And that's why I'm not going for any of them. I'm not just so desperate to get married that I will settle for any young man thrown my way. I am looking for something in particular because I am being led by a faithful, loving dad who is nurturing me by the word of God, who is discipling me, who has proven himself time and time again with my mom, with you, my other siblings, my brothers. He has trained up other leaders, and I'm looking at that and I'm saying, the men that are before me, and I think this is the same for a lot of women, the men that are before me are not going to do that.
Right. And I think that what we also are trying to communicate is that we are searching for someone who is not just going to keep us stagnant with where our dads grew us to that point, like to the point where we are now. We don't want to just find someone that's like, okay, well, they're going to keep me afloat in my spiritual walk with Christ. Right. We're looking for somebody that's going to push us beyond, because eventually there does come a point where the growth that you could experience at home is going to be capped. And so you're looking for someone that has the trajectory of the seeds planted to where you can see that young man is going to push you and grow you in Christ far beyond where your dad could have at that point. He's going to take up the mantle that your dad has left for him, and he is going to then take that, and he's going to help grow you, and he's going to help nurture you beyond where your dad could have. That's what we're looking for, because then also you have to think in your mind is that he's going to be raising your children.
Yeah.
And so you don't want it to be where you just simply reproduce yourself. You want to raise the next generation to push beyond yourself. And so if you marry somebody that is like, okay, well, you know, the most important thing is just to get married and just to have kids. Yes, get married, have kids, but that is not the most important thing.
There needs to be a mission behind it.
There does need to be a mission behind it. And your mission is creating children that will be hellions for the darkness. Mm-hmm. And so you want them to be sharp arrows that are going to pierce through the king's enemies. You want them to be able to think clearly, and you want them to be able to stand behind their love of Christ and to have firm convictions in him. And you don't want it to be, though, to where you just marry somebody that it's like, well, the biggest thing is just to be married. And it's like, you're not thinking through, where is this person taking me? Because he's taking you somewhere. There's no neutral ground. And so you need to be thinking through, is this the type of guy that you want? Is he going to wash you by the water of the word? Is he going to, when you marry him, are you going to be far better off and walking with Christ more than you would have had you have not married him?
Yeah. I think too, a big emphasis right now, not that they're coming out right and saying this, but it's more so putting an emphasis on just having babies. Like,
right.
And that's, I think, a lot of what's coming from the young men. The attitude is coming across that you just want me to make babies for you. And that's part of the problem. Like, I think having babies is wonderful. I'm looking forward to having children of my own one day, but that babies are not the mission in marriage.
Well, it's like what our dad sent us this wonderful clip by the late Vodi Bakum, and he said that if you are marrying somebody that's just out to defile you, keep looking.
Yeah.
And the point that he was making was because that is not a godly Christian man. A godly Christian man is wanting to marry you because he sees a raw material there that he can build up for the kingdom. He sees something that he can, again, wash by the water of the word, that he can nurture and lay his life down for as Christ did. So that way you can be a far better person than you would have been had he not married you. And the man's mission needs to be, my goal in marrying her is that in marrying me as a Christian man, she is more like Christ. Mm-hmm. And that needs to be your goal. You're looking for somebody that instead of what the first Adam did, taking her to God and then being like, it's her fault. Right. She sinned.
Yeah.
What you're looking for is the type of guy that does what the second Adam did, which is like, no, Lord, let me die in her place. Mm-hmm. I love her so much. I'm going to lay my life down for her. And not someone that's just out to play house and play king.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and just command and bark orders. And then again, like you're saying, it's not just to have babies. The marriage is a glorious place where if the Lord has so blessed you and you've thought through this and someone's helping you to think through this, it is a place where you two could do so much together. And you could really just create a lot of damage for the darkness.
And I think that's the point, like, especially today of all days, being reminded of what people like Vodi Bakum, what Charlie Kirk were doing, and what we as Christians should be doing, which was what we were talking about in our first Hot Topic episode, which is building. And I think if you're a woman living on mission, right? We have been graced with such a wonderful dad. We've been really blessed by him, and he's encouraged us to be busy, to be building, to be doing something that's fruitful, to be taking dominion and to be blessing those around us, and then be building up skills now that would then help when we are married. So it's practical now in ways that you could earn an income through those skills, but then also it's only going to be beneficial when you're married.
Yep.
And so if you are a woman that has been pushed in that area, or you're seeking to push yourself in that area, maybe you don't have great leadership, but by God's grace, your eyes have been opened that you could be doing more, that you need to be building. I think that type of attitude is going to demand a certain type of man, a man who's not just going to settle because you're busy building, and together, like what you're saying, you would build far more together than you ever would apart, as Sinclair Ferguson was talking about. Right. And so that's what's important. We're out to build something, to put up another layer on the wall, and to raise godly offspring that will be faithful to 1,000 generations. And that requires a very particular leader, a godly young man.
If godly dads are doing their job, which is what we're talking about, the young ladies that have been raised from godly fathers that have been nurturing their daughters in the admonition of the Lord. If they have been doing their job, then and they have been raising women like Jael, like Esther, like Rahab, like Ruth, like Lydia, like Anna, they are going to be some fearsome women.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, so they are going to, again, like you're saying, that type of woman is going to require a certain caliber of a man, and those men are scarce.
Yeah.
And so, but the beauty in that is that when you step back, if you've created that if you're a dad or if you're a mom and you've created that type of a daughter, the beautiful thing about that is it is going to completely require an act of God in order for her to find a spouse. The type of spouse that can handle that type of a woman.
Sure.
And in Douglas Wilson's book, How to Be the Type of Woman, the type of guy that you'd want to marry,
Yeah.
He talked about if you are a mess as a woman, you're going to require as a husband, an even bigger mess than you are, because he's got to handle your mess.
Yeah.
And so, and I love that because I think that's so true. When you look at marriage, you have to think about it in those terms. And even with our conversation with Christine Cohen, she mentioned that even in fiction, and why her characters work so well is because she has created such strong, capable females that are confident in who they are, that are confident in their convictions, that are more than willing to defend their convictions. And so that is going to require a certain type of a man in order to handle that, because these women aren't just going to be pushed around. Right. Just because. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to require a strong leader. And I've also heard, I think it is from maybe Douglas Wilson, but I'm not exactly sure. Okay. But I think it is from him, that you want the type of guy that is willing to look you in the eyes and say no to you. Yeah. If you're being a nincompoop, mm-hmm. right? Because the beauty in that is, and what kind of security that brings as a woman, is that, if he's willing to stand up to you and tell when you're being an nincompoop, then he's more than willing to stand up in front of anybody else that is going to potentially harm you, mm-hmm. and say no to them, because he loves you so much, he's willing to tell you no to your face. Yeah. And you just don't see that in many men today. And even supposedly so-called Christian men, where it's like they are essentially scared of their wives. And so mm-hmm. we're looking for the type of guy, though, that's not scared of us, because if he's not scared of us, then he's essentially, if he's not scared of what many people would call like the love of his life, then he's not going to be scared of anyone save for God.
Which brings such comfort, because it's like, this is not, we brought this up, I believe, in the episode with Miss Erica, but it's not directly related to marriage, but I took it as such a wonderful verse that I was like, that's what I want. It's the story where Jonathan and his armor bearer go up to the garrison of the Philistines.
Oh, I love that story.
It's just the two of them. Yeah. And he's talking to his armor bearer about it, and the armor bearer says to Jonathan, do whatever you wish, I'm with you, heart and soul. I believe it's also in Proverbs 31 where the heart of the husband trusts in her. Like, there's a complete trust and love. And like you were saying, if he stood up to me, he's going to take care of me in whatever battle. He's going to lead well. And I think that's important. Having a godly man whose eyes are on Christ and is in like, what's the G.K. Chesterton quote that's like, a good man fights not because of what's in front of him, but what's behind him. And that's what we're looking for, and that's what you're not seeing. And it's really sad. I think it's just because feminism has taken such a root mm-hmm. in the culture, the Christian culture, that it's either like you have the really masculine women and the really effeminate men. And it's really sad because the roles have gotten completely reversed in certain ways. And I think the church is trying to come back out of that, but even still, there's garbage that we still have to get rid of that's lingering, that's creating these problems. Right. The so-called picky singles.
Yeah. And, I think the key is that regardless of what sphere you're in, you want your daughters to be looking for the type of men like a Jonathan, like a David, mm-hmm. that is like, you require 100 foreskins of the Philistines in order to marry your daughter, I'll bring you 200. You know what I mean? It's like, she's worth it to me. Mm-hmm. She's worth that to me. Mm-hmm. Like, I will prove to you that I am worthy of your daughter. And that's the type of guy that you want, that he is assertive, and he is, honestly, he sees the price of your daughter, and he is willing to sacrifice himself for that. And he's willing to fight for that. You know what I mean? It's like, if you think about what young men had to go through back then in order to fight for a woman's hand, it was some pretty rough work. And, you look nowadays and it's like, again, and I think I heard this from a cross politic, it's like, you don't even have to talk to the girl now. It's like, you can just social media and just start talking to her. And it like requires nothing on the man's end in order to win her. It's just like, you can just say hello and you're supposed to fawn all over me, and it's supposed to be, because like, don't be picky, then it's supposed to be a done deal, the first option you get. Mm. And we're not saying that if there is a godly man in front of you and it works for you, we're not saying don't get married.
Yeah, if you're 20 and it's like the Esther and Lydia said, if there is a godly man in front of you who is going to lead any immortal souls that you bring into the world well, and is going to train you up and the children in the admonition of the Lord. And, your parents are on board. There's a friendship there. There's a respect there. Go for it. It's not about the age necessarily.
But I would also want to say to the idea that if you aren't married at a certain age, then you're sinning. That's just wrong.
Yeah.
Because, and I remember when this was brought up to me, I talked to my dad about it. And obviously the first question we had was, well, the Apostle Paul, what are you going to do with that? You know what I mean? Like, what are you going to do with he never got married ever. And then I remember my dad just so calmly was like, well, what are you going to do with Christ? Most perfect man on earth, never got married.
Most fruitful person on earth.
Yep. And so you're just like, and he lived an abundant life and has several children, might we add. And so it's just like, look, I have seen several people that have waited for marriage till it was the appropriate time, till God brought them the appropriate person. Mm-hmm. And they have had beautiful marriages.
Yeah.
Beautiful marriages. Mm-hmm. And that's also the hard thing is we have seen several good marriages laid out before us of people who married their best friend. Mm-hmm. They respected them. They loved them. They admired them. And they really are potent forces. Mm-hmm. And that's all we're saying is wait for someone, pray to God, trust God, and keep asking, be the persistent widow, keep asking God for a spouse if you so desire, because let's be honest, very few of us have the gift of celibacy. But for goodness sake, don't settle just because you feel like now you want the status of being married and you just want to be pregnant and you just want to have babies, because that at the end of the day, it is going to start with just you and your spouse, and the marriage is going to end with just you and your spouse. And if you have been searching for marriage to fulfill you, if you have been searching for babies to fulfill you, they are both going to fail you, because now those have taken place as idols.
Yeah.
And they were indeed your mission. And newsflash, if you are trusting in those, and you're trusting in those to bring you your fulfillment, you are ultimately going to be disappointed and hate your life, and essentially hate those that you so desired to have, hate what you so desired to have, because it can't replace the fulfillment that ultimately your confidence in Christ gives you, and the image that you find, and the glory that you find in being an image bearer of Christ, because Christ is ultimately your fulfillment. And if you learn that now, then marriage is just a wonderful blessing of an add-on.
And I think there's something to be said for sowing seeds of faithfulness, obedience now that will reap fruit later in the marriage.
Right.
And once again, you still will be sowing seeds in early years of marriage, and all throughout your life, really. But being so fruitful now and sowing those seeds is going to make a difference now. If you learn the contentment now, fix your eyes on Christ, joy in the Lord now in the moment. Isn't it why worry about tomorrow? For tomorrow will worry
about self.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I think just trust in the Lord, and that, if you are praying, He's got someone out there for you. Just trust in Him for that.
And since we're wearing the shirts, it seems a appropriate example to bring up. What if Charlie Kirk and Erica had married other people? What if they had settled when they were younger and had married someone else? How different would right now look?
Yeah, probably a lot.
Honestly, if they had settled because they just wanted marriage or because they just wanted children, how different and how hard would the life that they live now be for them, apart from had they married each other? If they had not married each other, how different would their lives look right now? Mm-hmm. And the Lord ultimately has someone out there for you. And we're not saying it has to be the one, because obviously, take Elizabeth Elliot, for example. She married 3 times.
Right.
And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you know more about this than I do. All 3 were beautiful marriages.
Yeah, to my knowledge, yes.
And so it's just like, we're not saying that you have the one perfect guy out there. What we are saying is that you have to be strategic in how you think about this. And ultimately, it just requires faith and trust in Christ, because marriage is hard work. And it's not going to be easy. It is a commitment to daily lay yourself down, lay your life down, and take up your cross for the other person, for Christ. And so, and for whatever little ones you might produce. And so it's like, if you're already coming into that, though, not trusting your spouse, not respecting your spouse, not loving him, and, you know, and him not being like your best friend, not trusting him, not having a confidence in him, then it is going to be so much harder.
Yeah, it is. And you want to be faithful to 1,000 generations. That's ultimately do all to the glory of God, and you want to be faithful to 1,000 generations and make a difference and an impact. And because I think that's a really important thought to remember, like, not to be so desperate that you jump into a bad situation, because, like, especially if you're not a first generation Christian, like we're not, how horrible would it be that we don't turn a profit on the talents that God has given us, the opportunities he's given us, the foundation we've been given from our parents, from our pastors, from our fellow Christian brothers and sisters in Christ. And so, like, don't bury your talent.
Yep.
And part of that is with your time now in the waiting, and then also, like, wasting the opportunity just because you got so desperate and nervous about it.
Yeah.
All this talk, though, has reminded me of there was a book I was reading many years ago. I wrote some quotes in my commonplace book.
Okay.
From a lady during the French Revolution, I believe. So there's 2 quotes in regards to marriage. But my dear mother, I do not want a husband who is to be led. He would be too cumbersome a child for me to take care of. So, there you go. There's number 1.
Great.
Number 2. But I'm sure that I can never love a husband whom it was necessary for me to govern. I should be ashamed of my own power.
Yeah. Dangerous thing. If you've grown up in a Christian family that has raised you as a dangerous woman, that is, her only fear is God.
Yeah.
And then you pair that with a man that just wants to be married, and his mission is her, and his mission is babies. She will run that household.
Feminism all over again.
Yep.
Despite the fact that it's like, but we're both Christians.
Yeah. No. You have to think through, what kind of a will do you have? What kind of a personality are you? And then choose your husband accordingly, because at least I know we talk about this with you often, and you talk about it with me, is that it's going to take quite a interesting character to rein your soul in.
But I think that's what's amazing to see. Like, God writes the best stories. And so being patient and, like, God all along the way has been laying seeds in your own life that are going to take fruit later, and he's been guiding you all along the way. So why would I not trust him now? I've seen the fruit of the marriage of my parents, of so many wonderful fellow brothers and sisters around me, and so I'm just trusting that he's still going to take care of me, just because I've come of age and can do a lot on my own. It should be more like trusting God, just trusting that he's still writing your story, he's still working, and he's got it under control.
Yep. And the beautiful thing is, lest anyone think then, if you, because the options are fewer, if you have now raised a strong, competent daughter, that is going to need quite a man to rein her in and to lead her instead of her leading him. The Lord loves to do work out of people like that, out of marriages like that, that there was, I mean, do we have to bring up the Luthers?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like, you talk about a woman and a man that were strong-willed. Those 2. So it's like, just be faithful and grow your daughters to be strong and competent, knowing and trusting God that he is going to provide that strong, competent man. And when they get married, it is going to be, you want it to be where when you get married to your spouse, the world is like, oh my word, just everyone hang on. And again, the beautiful thing about that is it's up to God to bring you your spouse in whatever case you're in. Yeah. So wait for the right guy. And ultimately,
but be busy while you're waiting.
Yes, because also the guy that you want, again, be the type of woman, the type of guy that you would want to marry.
If he's on mission, he's going to need a woman who's also willing to join his mission and then work at that.
But she has to be training herself now on mission, on the mission God's put her in.
Yep.
And whatever you do as unto the Lord. And so whatever she's doing, she has to be doing it as unto the Lord, and she has to be on mission. And again, be busy. And because the type of guy that you're going to want to marry that is on mission is going to have plenty of stuff for you to do. So, and in order to help him, you want to increase your assets to help him. And so you want to be continually learning, being a lifelong learner. So that way, you can be a helpful helpmeet, a helpful tool to your husband. And then he can take the talents that you've brought to the table, and you can take the talents that he's brought to the table, and y'all can multiply them and do far more together than you could apart.
And one thing our parents like to tell us when we were coming of age, to be working more and like graduating school and all of that, they said, we want you to be so busy now that when you're married, you're in a thriving church community, you're hosting, and you've got lots of little ones that you're like, aside from just I know there are certain pressures and hardships that come with having littles. You know, you're caring for mortal souls. It is weighty. But aside from just that, as far as in terms of just the physical busyness, that you're like, I've got this. And I think those are the kind of couples that we're going to need in today's world if we're going to rebuild through the wreckage.
Yep. So if you're going to keep raising the George Washingtons and the Charlie Kirks and the Martin Luthers and all the greats, all the Vodi Backums, John MacArthur's, the greats, then they require strong parents. So think about your future kids. Think about what you want to accomplish out of your marriage. And keep that in mind as you're looking for a spouse, because it is a weighty thing. And who you choose doesn't just affect you, it affects the entire world. So there you go. Hopefully we will not discourage anyone from marriage.
No, but just be patient, be working, be busy, be building for the kingdom.
Yep. There you go. So with that, this is the ending of the third
episode.
Wow.
Of Hot Topic October.
Guys, we're more than, I guess, what would it be, 2/3 through October. So
2 more episodes.
2 more episodes. Be busy.
And stay tuned for the next Hot Topic October episode.
Bye, guys.